Who we got coming up here?
Martin Motnik,
Wow.
bass player from your former band, Accept.
My former, well, for like 5 days.
Yeah, well, that counts.
I could say I was in a band with Martin Motnik for 5 days.
Yeah, and that band was Accept. Martin is the bass player for Accept. He is featured on the Too Mean to Die album. He's been touring with the band for a year or two. He's got a solo album called Bass Invader that he shared with us at RockNPod.
Has another solo album called Dream Chaser as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Bass Invader, I've been listening to it. Thank you, Martin, by the way, for that copy of that. It's instrumental, very proggy, I guess you would say. It's really interesting stuff, and man, does it highlight his bass playing. He's a great bass player. And I think I know he has Greg Bissonette playing drums on some of that album. Greg, of course, was with David Lee Roth for a number of years. But yeah, Martin, I'd never met him before. He was a great guy, super sweet dude.
Yes.
And he was kind enough to join us and let us pick his brain. And Jason and he got to have a bit of a reunion, so that was fun.
Yeah, I hung out with Martin quite a bit during that week on the East Coast when I was out with those guys in October of last year, and he was great. He seemed to be, when we were sort of like waiting to go to the venue, he was always on his computer, and I'm not quite sure what he was doing on his computer, but he's very techie. I reluctantly am not proud that I revealed one of his former jobs when he was living in Los Angeles. His whole story, I'll just say this, is very, very interesting. He's a German dude, right? He's from Germany. He moves to Los Angeles, gets married, and he doesn't know. He's not married yet, doesn't have a green card. He can't, a working visa. So he's living hand to mouth, but he can't make any money. So if he's making any money, it could have been under the table. Who knows? Mowing lawns. I don't know. He was playing gigs, but he couldn't you couldn't write him a check because he wouldn't have been able to cash it. You get the idea.
Right.
So it was a little bit interesting to come all that way. Just to be a musician in the Los Angeles area, and ends up working with one of my guitar heroes, Uli Jon Roth, who's German. So he comes to America to work with German musicians who are his influences from when he was young in Germany. So we learned a lot. I learned a lot, and learned embellishments on what I kind of already knew about just from hanging out with him. He's awesome. He's such a good guy. And Dave, I hope you had fun talking to him.
I absolutely did, man. It was great. You know, I enjoyed meeting everyone that sat down on our couch at RockNPod. Some of them I've met before. Some of them it was the first time. But
yes, he said couch.
Yeah, we did have a couch. Thank you, Chris. And
no one else had a couch.
Yeah, we were the envy of everyone under that big steel roof.
I don't know why. Some people felt bad for us because we were shoved in the corner. We secretly were like, this is perfect.
Yes, I enjoyed being in the corner because we had minimal bleed from the other our neighbors and surrounding noise, and it was comfortable. And so I enjoyed getting to know Martin.
Who lives in Nashville.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, he said that his house was only 20 minutes from the fairgrounds where we were. So
I found it interesting ever since you did those dates with Accept. I did not know this, but 4 out of the 5 guys in Accept live in Nashville. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wolf Hoffman lives in Nashville.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so Philip and Christopher and Martin and Wolf, that's right. They all live in Nashville.
Yeah. So we were.
Uwe lives in Germany or Austria. I'm not quite sure. I think Germany. And Mark, of course, lives in his home state, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that Martin jumped in his car and drove the 20 minutes to join us at RockNPod Expo, because it was great to talk to him a little bit and get to know him as well. And yeah, Martin Motnik on the Talk Louder podcast. Hey, what's up? It's Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you the Talk Louder podcast from the RockNPod Expo in Nashville, Tennessee. And we're joined today by Martin Motnik, bass player for Accept, on the show today. How are you, man?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I guess you guys know each other a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I've seen the guy before.
Well, I was invited to ride on your bus for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Thank you.
The crazy hitchhikers.
When that, yeah, hey, we're gonna let this Texas guy ride on our bus for a week. Who the fuck are you?
That was so much fun.
Yeah,
right.
It was great.
So obviously your listeners probably know the backstory.
Oh yeah.
But so the Jason was just amazing to just hop in on a day's notice, I think, to sing with us with Accept, because Mark had a bad cold. And we just needed somebody to jump in on short notice.
No rehearsal.
No rehearsal. No.
Yeah.
Did like a little sound check and that was it.
But I have to add to this, because this just makes it even more fun for the fans as well as me. I mean, no one knows what's going on in here and here except for me, but it meant a lot to me and was very cool, even though I was nervous at first. Because I woke up after the first gig, we do the first gig, all right, made it through. Oh my God. The next day I wake up and I see my phone and Mark is back. And I'm like, am I going home? I talked to Yuva, a guitar player.
Right.
I get up out of the bunk and I'm standing in the hallway of the bunk area in the bus and I'm going, Yuva, am I going home?
Yeah.
Because I'll go home if you guys, because I had seen Mark is back.
Yeah.
And the further up the bus I walked, I started to figure out from passersby, oh no, you guys, we're going to work out a set list to where you guys are sharing like a tag team thing. I was like, holy shit, this is going to be incredible.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah. And so it was kind of a special treat and a first for Accept.
As far as I know, but I don't think they ever had two singers on stage.
No, it was fun.
So when Jason's name came up as a replacement for Mark temporarily, were you aware of his history? Did you know who Jason was?
I gotta admit, not too much, to be honest.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I've
but you trusted the.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there were a bunch of names also, like big names thrown around that were like, should we call this guy? Should we call that guy? I was on, and. So I was like, I had no say in the matter.
Yeah.
Per se.
Philip and Christopher knew a little bit about me.
Okay.
And I think what it was is that Aborn and his connection with Wolf is really what kind of got it going.
Yeah.
Because they had called me and I sent those couple of songs, but Wolf was on the phone right after that. I want to get to your
let's talk your
stuff.
I like talking about you.
I like talking about you too. I talk about you more than you even realize.
Tell us about when you first came to America for the first time.
Yeah.
What was the biggest culture shock for you as someone from Germany?
Funny enough, I didn't even feel so strange, maybe because the American culture is so present in Germany because of the movies and I was always very much into the music scene,
right?
And like the West Coast, and I'm not too proud to admit it. I was like a Poison fan, Warrant.
Didn't you spend time in a Bon Jovi tribute band?
I did for a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It's fun. I like
bet.
it. Yeah.
I bet you're playing good songs for people who obviously love Bon Jovi.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of girls in the audience, and that doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
and so I like the songs, and then the bass lines are really, really interesting. And then Hugh McDonald, who has been the bass player like since the mid '90s officially, but he's the guy behind even the first albums. And
Wow.
Right.
and he lives in Nashville. And then when we did the jam last night, he was there. So we actually know each other now, which is like a big deal to me, because I admire him. And then he was like, "Hey, Martin, how you doing?" I was like, "How do you know my name?"
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of that.
Wow.
But I showed him a picture one time when I tried to emulate his look, how he looked like in the 90s. And I was like, "Here, that's me trying to look like you." And he looks at it and I was like, "Yeah, I remember that." So that was pretty cool.
So you were fairly acclimated to American culture by way of movies and music. And so when you got here, it wasn't that big of a shock to you.
It wasn't so much of a shock. Of course, you have to adapt.
Yeah.
And
You already knew English when you got here?
Yeah, and so my best friend,
That's what I
actually,
thought.
he's a former Marine.
Okay.
And I met him in Germany, but he was a singer in a cover band in Germany. That's how we met and then became close friends. And we actually played Balls to the Wall back then.
Nice.
We covered it.
Yeah.
And now he lives here, and now he comes to our shows, and he's proud because I'm like his little brother.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And but ever since then, we stayed in close touch. I would even talk to him over the phone. I would call him. That's how I would practice speaking English. And then I just at some point just jumped off the deep end and grabbed the bass guitar and a suitcase, went to LA and just to see how it's gonna be if they even need another bass player.
Yeah.
But I was just lucky. I met some good people. My first band was with Chris Slade on drums.
Oh, wow.
I got just in between when he was not in AC/DC.
Right.
And Jason Ebbs, who was in Peter Chris's band.
Okay.
And they had a project. And that's how I got my first band. And it was just an ad at Guitar Center on Sunset.
Wow.
So
Wow. Wow.
That you had to audition?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I think you sent me some songs and I just went there and we jammed.
Oh,
But
sweet.
it was pretty nonchalant, to be honest.
Awesome.
And then from there, met some other people. And then I got the call to tour with Uli Jon Roth.
Right.
And that's what got me my first actual artist visa. And that's how I was able to stay in the country. Because before I wasn't able to get paid to play because I was on a tourist visa. So we were just jamming in the living rooms and I went to jam sessions a lot. Big Potato, like that classic club in the Valley.
Okay.
Right.
And then Uli helped me a lot because then that gave me my first visa. And then on that tour I met my now ex-wife.
Yeah.
But that's what got me a green card. And it cost me 6 years, but
See,
still.
Americans are good for something.
Right? Yeah. And so now I'm here.
Well, you kind of owe a little bit, maybe on paper, maybe not on paper, maybe heart and soul to Uli Jon Roth.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I always say that he's been instrumental into my career.
But also it's kind of a full circle because he's from Germany.
Yeah.
And a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go, well, what is an Uli Jon Roth? When someone says, hey, would you like to be Uli Jon Roth's bass player?
Right.
You're like, oh, holy shit, you're kidding, right? So, I mean, was the material, were you on those Schenkerfest tours?
No, it was, he had just released his own album.
Okay.
And it was 2008, Under a Dark Sky. And it's very symphonic too. And it was a very last minute call. I had I think 10 days to fly to Munich, go to the embassy, apply for the artist visa, learn the material, fly back, and then straight to rehearsals. And 5 days later, we were on the road. It's like a really show. And funny enough, when I got the Accept gig, it was a very similar situation because it was for the orchestra tour. And they had another bass player who was supposed to play those shows. But he was only going to be temporary. But then he backed out. And then they asked me if I could do it. And it was the same thing. I had 10 days to learn all these classical songs and the Accept songs.
Right.
And,
sounds kind of familiar.
Right? Yeah. So I knew exactly how you felt. So I really respect you for being able to jumping in.
I got a lot of what they call brownie points on that, doing that. Like there were people chiming in going, guys I'm not blowing smoke up my ass or anything, but there was a lot of people going, no rehearsal.
Yeah.
He just showed up with a notebook and started singing the songs.
And he did.
A notebook, and that's it. And it's crazy.
How long have you been at Accept now?
I joined in March 2019,
Okay.
and April 2019 was the first show.
So how many of the records have you recorded on?
The last one.
Just the last. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Too Mean to
Okay.
Die.
Cool.
Too
That's
Mean to
right.
Die.
Too Mean to Die. You guys just finished up the tour for that.
Yes.
Uh,
Finally.
yeah. But
It was a long one, wasn't it?
how many shows were you? Okay. So you released the record pre-pandemic or right during the pandemic?
During the pandemic.
Okay.
So we started recording in 2020, like in February or something like that.
Wow, that's
And-
right when the shit hit.
Exactly.
The fan.
And then Andy Sneap, our producer, Judas Priest,
Yeah.
he was in town, and they were working on the pre-production, or started recording like the drums, and then I did my bass. I actually did my bass parts from my own studio at home,
Okay.
so we kind of like did a remote.
Sure.
And then COVID hit, and then the country shut down, and then Andy was here, and they were like, "Okay, what are we gonna do?" And he was like, "Well, let's keep going. I mean, you're here. We're doing this now." And he was in the country because you couldn't come in anymore. That's like when they all shut that down. And then I think he stayed for another month, but then he started getting nervous because he didn't know, because he lives in England.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure that he can get home.
Right.
Well, Andy's in Judas Priest,
Right.
so
Yeah.
they probably needed him to do some stuff too.
Yeah, but they were also on hold because
Yeah,
they were supposed to go on tour.
Well, they canceled their a couple of times.
Right.
There were a couple of shows in Texas that I had plans to go to.
Right.
You probably did
Yeah.
too. That changed like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Because of the you know what.
And so it kind of was like an advantage for us.
Okay.
Not that we wanted that, but that he was available then.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he could actually see the whole production through. But then he flew home, and then we did the thing kind of like remotely via webcams.
Okay, right.
But
Yeah.
that worked great. But then, the release was like January 2021. And then, of course, we were supposed to go on tour. But then COVID was still going. And then we postponed it by a year.
Yep.
And then kept going. And then we postponed to this year, and now it finally happened.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that was a long
How many
tour.
shows were on the American leg before, and then how many shows did you do? 30 shows in
Europe.
Yeah,
We did like 30 shows in 40 days.
amazing.
Wow.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is. And I was a little nervous because like Finland in February and Norway, but we were lucky.
You guys had some weather. I was living vicariously, you know,
Right.
keeping tabs on you guys, and it would show you guys standing in snow and icy rain, or the sun would be shining, but you guys would be, your teeth would be chattering.
Yeah, even like Spain. I was like, I look out there and there's snow. I'm like, I thought this is Spain.
yeah.
Did I read somewhere that you were once the musical director on Carnival Cruise Lines?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay,
That's crazy.
So
So
gotta make money somehow.
Yeah,
That's right.
no. So here's my question:
Yeah.
What's the most metal song you were able to slip into the playlist for a Carnival Cruise crowd?
Couldn't really do any metal, to be honest. And the other musicians also, they were like more from the. I mean, you have to be really versatile to play there, and it helps me just. I mean, I really enjoy. I love different styles of music.
Yeah.
And but metal. And we did play some Evanescence.
Okay.
Bring me to life.
yeah.
That's
Okay.
definitely, we played that.
Sure.
And actually, at that time, we did the live karaoke where people would come on stage and play with the
that's
band.
fun.
Right.
That's fun.
And that's actually challenging too, because that's to a click track, because you have to play with the lyrics. So the lyrics actually still, they have the bouncing ball and stuff, but you have to play in sync. So it's actually, it's not as simple as you think.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so with an untrained singer just stepping up to the mic. Well, Martin, thank you so much for joining us. Real quick, what can we expect from Accept moving forward? I know you're ready for a break after the recent European tour. Where are we with songwriting and a potential new album?
Yeah, so we have another couple of weeks of shows coming up in South America in April. But yeah, we definitely have a new album in the making. We signed with Napalm Records about a year ago.
Cool.
And why sign with a new record label if you don't make a new record?
Right.
So yeah, we're definitely it's in the works. Wolf is working on stuff. I'm jotting down some ideas.
Cool.
Mark's working on lyrics. Actually, Philip and I had a song idea together. So we sent
Nice.
that in as a.
Do you guys fly that up the flagpole, which is Wolf? You show it to Wolf and see what
basically,
he,
yeah, that's
okay.
how it works. But
Yeah.
he loves the input.
That's amazing.
Like I was surprised too, and like because I think I have on 5 songs I have like songwriting credit, co-writing credits on the last album.
Yeah,
which is like I'm stoked.
yeah, that's amazing because Wolf has his own thing,
Right.
certainly, and this with the sound of Accept, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So wow, that's
amazing.
Wow.
But I think he's the one who turns it into Accept. So
Oh,
he
yeah.
takes the song and then he can hear how it's gonna sound.
His tone,
Yeah.
his tone is Accept. Yeah. Let's talk about Dream Chaser real quick, if
Yeah.
you have an extra minute or two. This is your solo record, and you had members of Accept play on it, as
Right.
well as a bunch of other people. For someone who doesn't know what's going on, just do a quick rundown of what that album, how long it's been out, and what to expect from it. You have it on sale here, and they can buy it where, and things like that.
Right. So I call it my COVID project. I mean, it was something
Nice.
that we were just done with, or I was done with my parts of Too Mean to Die. And I was in recording mode, and I thought, now would be the right time to make a new album. I made an album quite a few years back called Bass Invader with Greg Bissonette on drums.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna leave 2 copies here. I don't know if you guys do ever giveaways to your listeners or something, but if you
Well,
wanna
yeah,
do
here,
it-
I'll give one away. Here you go,
there you go.
Dave. Here you go, Dave.
You can give it to each other.
I've got my own. Thank you.
And so I started recording those songs, and so I have great drummers that play on it. Christopher from Accept. I got Alfredo Reyes Jr., the drummer for Chicago. Joe Babiak, who was the drummer for Michelangelo Badio, and Greg Bissonette again. And then I wanted each song to have a solo of one of my musical heroes. And so I got Wolf play a solo. I got
Yeah.
Joe Satriani, Bruce Kulick, Jennifer Batten, Frank Gambale, Derek Sherinian, a bunch of people that I admire.
Yeah.
And then thinking about a name for an album, I realized that that's what I do. I chase my dreams. Coming to America was a dream of mine. Did that. Ended up in a famous band. It was a dream of mine. That happened. And now I'm like, I always wanted to play with these amazing artists that I admire, and that happened. And so it's like I'm a dream chaser, and that's why.
I think that it's very interesting. I'm going to bring it up again that you come to America from Germany and end up playing with German artists.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure that's what helped.
But here's another thing that I know about you that other people don't know about you. Is it true? I know it's true. You work for Disney.
Yeah.
And you don't admit it. You don't like it. We don't have to talk about it.
Okay,
But
let's not talk about it.
you did work for Disney. Just an interesting factoid.
Hey,
Yeah.
we all have some.
Well, he used to draw pictures of Mickey, and they liked him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's just 3 circles.
Yeah, three.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Let's dumb it down a
Right.
little bit. Talent is talent.
True. Right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you for joining us. Anyone listening out there, you can hear Martin on the new Accept album, Too Mean to Die. It's been out for a couple of years now, I guess. Check out his solo album.
Bass Invader, as well
right
as
there.
Dream Chaser.
And
where
a
can
new-
they buy it?
Well, it's on streaming, and then I mostly sell it on my own website,
Which
Which is
martinmotnik.com.
martinmotnik.com.
Thank you, Martin.
There you have it. Thank you so much, Martin. We appreciate you
guys.
being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, man.